10 News begins with breaking news.
You are looking at some of the very first images broadcast on Iranian state TV showing American military facilities in Iraq under attack. And good evening. I'm Steve Atkinson.
And I'm Lindsay Pena. Iran says it has fired ballistic missiles at multiple facilities, including the Ain Assad Air Base, which houses American troops. It's located in Iraq's western Anbar province. The attack comes days after the U.S. killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani in a drone attack in Iraq. 10 News reporter Adam Rakusin is in the Live Center, and Adam, Iranian leaders have vowed revenge.
Yeah, that's what we've been hearing for days now, and finally that did come true today. Here's what the Pentagon is saying tonight. They're confirming that Iran launched more than a dozen ballistic missiles against U.S. military and coalition forces in Iraq. Tonight, CNN is saying that there are casualties. They're reporting that there are casualties among the Iraqis at Al-Assad Air Base following the attack, although the number of casualties and whether the individuals were killed or wounded was not immediately clear. So where is all this taking place? Here's Baghdad right here. Here's Al-Assad Air Base. We mapped this out. It's about 2.5 hours from Baghdad, and it's where this is taking place tonight. The White House is saying that they are aware of reports of attacks on U.S. facilities in Iraq. The president has been briefed and is monitoring the situation closely and consulting with his national security team. Here is some of that video that we had been seeing from the Fars news agency. You can see some of the streaks that were crossing through the sky there when that video loads right now. And just a few minutes ago, Nancy Pelosi tweeting this, saying that they are closely monitoring the situation following bombings targeting U.S. troops in Iraq. We must ensure the safety of our service members, including ending needless provocations from the administration and demanding that Iran cease its violence. America and world cannot afford war. And we are following this. Mona Kassar Abdi, ABC News reporter, is following the latest on this.
This is video just in from Iranian state TV. You can see missiles streaking across the night sky. The targeted airbase had already been on heightened alert, given Iran's vow to retaliate against the United States for the airstrike that killed the country's top military commander, Qasem Soleimani. Iran's foreign minister today telling ABC News that the U.S. would pay for the, quote, act of war. At the Pentagon today, Defense Chief Mark Esper said the U.S. did not want to start a war with Iran, but the U.S. is prepared to finish one. Esper casted the airstrikes as self-defense. The president in the Oval Office today also reiterated a similar message that the airstrike was a retaliatory move against Iran. Iran claimed Soleimani was on a diplomatic peace mission in Iraq when he was killed. Now it's up to the U.S. to determine how they will deal with this major provocation.
And that was Mona Kassar Abdi reporting. This just back into the Live Center. I want to show you this. CNN's reporting that the White House is making plans for President Trump to address the nation tonight, although there's no timing on this. And also, security is increased around the White House. They're saying it's been increased around the grounds of the White House tonight in light of the current tensions with Iran. So we'll continue to follow this. And when we do get that information on when the president plans to address the nation, of course, we'll bring you that. Reporting in the Live Center, Adam Rakusin, 10 News.
All right, thank you, Adam. Meanwhile, a deadly stampede broke out today at the funeral for the Iranian general killed in that U.S. airstrike last week. At least 56 people were killed and more than 200 were injured during the procession for Qasem Soleimani. Defense Secretary Mark Esper is urging Iran to de-escalate tensions in the region. He also said that the deadly U.S. airstrike was an act of self-defense. The Trump administration claims it had information that Soleimani was plotting to kill American soldiers and diplomats in the coming days.
He was conducting, preparing, planning military operations. He was a legitimate target, and his time was due.
But Iran's foreign minister says the U.S. crossed a line. Over the weekend, the Iraqi parliament voted to expel U.S. troops from the country, but Esper says the U.S. will maintain its presence in the region. And the escalation in Iran is stirring up terrifying moments for the family of a San Diego man held there for more than a year during one of the most intense hostage standoffs in history.
Only our 10 News reporter Mimi Alcala spoke with his widow today, and Mimi, this crisis hit very close to home.
And Steve, Lindsay, we are talking about the 1979 Iran hostage crisis that dominated the headlines. 52 Americans were held hostage for more than a year, including a San Diegan. His wife tells me she needed information and she was not getting it. So she called 10 News looking for help. Then she made it her job to try to bring her husband back home.
Well, I was trying to get information.
It's been more than 40 years since Dottie Moorfield picked up the phone and called 10 News for the first time.
All I had heard from the State Department was that the embassy had been overrun. I picked up the phone. I thought, if anybody's going to know, it's the news agencies. Brad answered, and we went from there.
Mrs. Moorfield told me her husband had just been taken hostage in Iran. I didn't even know what to say. I was shocked. I kept looking up information for her as it came over the wire service and would always call her.
In November of 1979, Dottie's husband, Richard Moorfield, a high-ranking diplomat, was one of 52 people taken hostage in Iran after Iranian students protesting at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran took over.
It's a kind of fear that just you can't function. You're just sort of sitting by the phone waiting.
For more than 400 days after that, it became Dottie's mission to keep her husband's name relevant, staying in touch with 10 news and media outlets across the nation.
I felt that was my job during that time, was to keep people talking about them, keep people focused on them.
And she did her job well.
You have to face the fears, the uncertainties, and the worries.
After 444 days, the hostages were finally freed.
I was just beyond excited.
Richard returned home to San Diego to a sea of supporters.
He was stunned. There were people from Lindbergh Field to the townhouse I was running in Tierra Santa cheering for us. They were so happy to see him.
But for 30 years after his release, until his death in 2010, Dottie says he never fully recovered.
He never slept through a night. He would wake up afraid, frightened, startled. He hated to have a door shut.
Dottie's lawyer says each hostage was promised $4.4 million or $600,000 for a spouse or child. But to this day, they're still waiting.
I don't understand the holdup.
And I spoke with Dottie's attorney, who is representing the hostages and their families. He says so far they've only been paid about 16 or 17% of what they were promised, but he is still fighting for them. Live in the studio, Mimi Alcala, 10 News.
Wow, what a story. Mimi, thank you. You can stay on top of the breaking situation in Iraq by downloading our free mobile app. Just go to the App Store and search 10 News. And now to a developing story. Disgraced Congressman Duncan Hunter says he will leave office next Monday. He submitted his letter of resignation just today.
10 News reporter Matt Boone is joining us. And Matt, his letter doesn't acknowledge his campaign finance violations case.
No, it doesn't, Lindsay. He really just details his history in the military service, as well as his work as a congressman on education, working with the Coast Guard, and of course his advocacy for people in the military who have been prosecuted by the military justice system.
Duncan Hunter was first elected in 2008, succeeding his father in what was the 52nd District, now the 50th, comprising parts of East County up to southern Riverside County. In 2018, Hunter and his wife were indicted on charges of campaign finance violations. Federal prosecutors said they used $250,000 from campaign donors for personal use, including lavish vacations, extramarital affairs, and plane tickets for their pet rabbit. The trial was scheduled to begin on January 22nd. After denying the charges as a politically motivated attack, last month, Hunter changed his plea to guilty to one felony count of misusing campaign funds. In his resignation letter today, he did not mention the guilty plea, ending by saying, quote, "It has been an honor to serve the people of California's 50th District, and I greatly appreciate the trust they have put in me over these last 11 years.
Certainly no big surprise, but we just can't figure out if there was any strategy to this. We don't know why he didn't resign on the day that he pled guilty, so it's certainly no big surprise, but long overdue.
Republican political strategist John Dadian added Hunter legally could have stayed in his seat until the end of his term. But in a statement, Democratic candidate Amar Campanajjar said, quote, "Hunter should have resigned weeks ago and shouldn't wait until January 13th. Republican candidate Carl DeMaio also released a statement saying in part, quote, "I urge Governor Gavin Newsom to call a special election as soon as possible."
I think there's a very good chance he's going to leave it vacant.
Now, by vacant, he means that he does not think that the governor would call a special election. But as of Monday, next Monday, the governor has 14 days to make that decision. If he does, we talked to our local registrar of voters here, and they say, however, it would be nearly impossible to hold that special election concurrent with the primary in March. Reporting in the newsroom, Matt Boone, 10 News.
Matt, thank you. A lot of fallout there. The couple accused of carjacking a man then going on a robbery spree in El Cajon is now under arrest. This all happened overnight, and police say the couple stole a car, then used it to hit these 7 different 7-Eleven locations. Police say the man walked into the San Carlos and Spring Valley stores with a handgun and got away with cash. The couple later went to a third store on North Euclid Avenue but didn't get away with anything. Police arrested them after a short pursuit that ended in a crash in National City.
A suspicious package that closed the main gate at Naval Base Coronado turned out to be harmless. This all comes as military bases in San Diego are increasing security because of tensions between the U.S. and Iran. The main gate was closed for about an hour this morning. During a routine check, an inspector noticed a box with a wire protruding from it underneath a commercial vehicle. Base officials determined it was just part of the truck's operating system and gave the all clear.
We have new developments in the 8-month disappearance of a Connecticut mother, Jennifer Doulos. Today, her estranged husband, Fotis Doulos, was arrested and charged with her murder.
As ABC's Trevor Alt explains, her body has never been found.
Tuesday morning in Connecticut, 8 months after the disappearance of Jennifer Doulos, authorities filed murder charges against her estranged husband. Fotis Doulos, who's declared his innocence from the beginning, today taken into custody by Connecticut State Police.
I'm not surprised that the state decided to bring the charge. I haven't seen the warrant. I'll be surprised if they can win it. Mr. Doulos contends he was not involved, and I don't think the evidence will show that he was.
Jennifer Doulos went missing in May after dropping off her 5 children at school. Authorities allege Fotis Doulos was lying in wait for her when she arrived at home, and a violent assault took place in the garage. Until today, he'd only been charged with evidence tampering in the case. And in the 8-month since, Fotis Doulos maintained his innocence, telling News 4 New York in a July interview, the truth will come out.
Statistically, when something like this happens, 90 or 95% is the spouse. So I can understand why people feel like this.
While Fotis Doulos is now charged with murder, his girlfriend, Michelle Troconis, is charged with conspiracy to commit murder, as is an attorney, Kent Mulwiney. All 3 are now in custody. A statement on behalf of Jennifer Doulos' friends and family saying Tuesday, although we are relieved that the wait for these charges is over, for us there is no sense of closure. Nothing can bring Jennifer back.
Fotis and Jennifer Doulos were in the midst of a bitter divorce before she disappeared. Now, Fotis Doulos and his girlfriend, Michelle Troconis, are being held on $6 million and $2 million bond. Trevor Alt, ABC News, New York.
Jury selection is underway in New York in the sexual assault trial against Harvey Weinstein. This comes as the former Hollywood producer faces new charges in Los Angeles. The new alleged encounters involve 2 women. One accuses Weinstein of rape in her LA hotel room in 2013. The next evening, the indictment claims that Weinstein sexually assaulted another woman in a Beverly Hills suite.
This trial is to show the jury, the state of New York, and the world that there's more to this than they would like everyone to believe.
Meanwhile, Weinstein's sex assault trial in New York stems from alleged incidents involving 2 different women in 2006 and 2013. He denies all of the allegations against him and claims any sexual encounters were consensual.
3 people who scaled the new 30-foot border wall near Otay Mesa had to be rescued. This happened Sunday night. As you can see from this picture, a man and 2 women, they're on top of the wall hidden by dense fog, but there they are. Border Patrol says they are Mexican nationals who tried to enter the U.S. illegally by climbing the new steel bollard wall. Agents say they got stuck at the top after smugglers abandoned them. San Diego Fire used their ladder truck to safely rescue them.